My message to the world is our emotions matter. Our emotions matter in how we communicate and how we make decisions. And AI is the future, but AI needs to have emotions too. And I think that makes for an exciting future. And I hope we can all be part of it. We have to. We have to all be part of designing these systems and deploying them. So I'm excited to see what comes out of this event and hopefully a lot of collaborations and partnerships.
Agora eu vou conversar com a Rana El Kalioubi, que é a fundadora da Affectiva e quem está trazendo emoção para a inteligência artificial. Hello, Hannah.
Hi, Tom. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Thank you for your time here with us. In a world where all sorts of data is collected, I think the things we buy, places we go, and now the emotions we feel. What do you think is the impact of this job, of this work, of this data, emotional data?
So I'm on a mission to humanize technology. I build artificial emotional intelligence, basically computers that understand humans, that understand people's emotions. And the reason that this is very important, to your point, is we interact with each other using emotions, right? Our emotions influence every aspect of our lives, from how we make decisions, small ones, like what you had for breakfast, to big ones, to who you're going to marry or where you're going to live. But emotions are missing from technology, right? And that's a problem because we're interacting with our devices on a day-to-day basis. So I'm really on, my goal is to bring emotions back into our world because they really matter.
Well, what do you think is the best use for this data?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of applications of the technology. The application that I'm most passionate about is mental health. Today, the way people measure mental health is just by asking you, right? So if you go to a doctor's office, they just say, okay, on a scale from 1 to 10, how much pain are you in? Or how depressed are you? Or are you suicidal? And we know that the data is very unreliable, right? Like people sometimes don't know, sometimes they don't tell the truth. But we also know that there are facial and vocal kind of biomarkers or indicators of things like depression. So my goal is to use this technology to quantify in a very objective way things like mental health disorders. Another area that's very exciting is autism. It was actually the very first application of this technology where we built, something like a Google Glass with our technology built in, and we gave it to kids to help them understand other people's emotions. And today it's been deployed in over 300 homes, and the kids are using and we're seeing positive effects. These kids are doing more eye contact, more face contact, which is really important, if they're going to go to school and be effective learners and also get jobs when they're adults.
Well, I think when we see this technology working, one thing that came to my mind is the challenges we're going to face, because we're talking about humans, and so we're talking about people that are sometimes deceptive. I mean, they can fake some emotion. I don't know. What do you think about those challenges? How can we face it in some scenario where you have to consider that?
Yeah, that's a great question, because emotions are very complex, and we only share our emotions if we feel comfortable, right? So our goal is to make people feel comfortable and trust us as a company to share this type of data, because it's very personal data. So we've done a lot of research on how best to do that and how to incentivize people to share this kind of data. Sometimes we pay people, in our advertising work. We do a lot of work in Brazil, actually, where we test ads before they go live. And in that case, we just pay people to turn the camera on so that we can measure all their emotions. But sometimes there are other values, like better safety, better healthcare services. So I really think it's important to provide enough value to make people comfortable to share this personal data.
In a global scale, what do you see this technology doing in the world?
So we are deployed in 87 countries around the world. We've collected about 4 billion facial frames across our partners, which is data, very powerful data. It allows us to see cross-cultural differences, I can tell you that the Brazilians are in the top 3 countries in terms of most expressive, which is not surprising, I guess. But we see that in our data. I do think in the future this is just going to be the de facto human-machine interface. When computers were first designed, they were called computers because they used to compute. They used to do all these mathematical equations in some back office. But today, technology it's the first, for me at least. My phone is the first thing I see in the morning, and it's the last thing I say goodnight to at night, right? So it's become very weaved in our everyday lives, and I feel strongly that it's about time that the technology interacts with our own terms and our language, not its language.
Wow. There's a TV series that I watched some time ago called Lie to Me, when this guy used to read expressions of people and catch criminals. But I don't think that's your goal, to catch criminals with your technology. I'd like to know the legacy you are bringing to the world and to the future emotional designers.
Yeah, again, excellent question. When we started the company about 9 years ago, we were at MIT doing research, and then we decided to start Affectiva. There were only 3 of us, and we sat down, together, and we said, okay, what are the boundaries? Because this technology can be applied everywhere. And technology is neutral. It can be used for good or bad. It's up to the humans who are designing the technology to decide. And we decided that we only wanted to work in use cases that advance, that help people in one way or another. And so that meant we're not doing any security or surveillance applications. So we do not catch criminals. We do not do lie detection. Even though sometimes it was hard. Like there was a year in 2011, we were raising money for the company, and we were about 2 months away from running out of money. And a security agency approached us, and they wanted to put a lot of money in the company, but they wanted us to focus on security. And we said no, which was quite, for a small startup, it's very hard to do something like that. But we felt that that's just not aligned with our core values. So I'm a very big advocate of kind of the ethical use cases of the technology.
One thing that I watched you speaking in any video in the internet, that you said that the richness of your feelings were disappearing into the cyberspace, and that was one of the things that pushed you to develop Affectiva and the work you're doing today. When do you think it started among people? When do this thing that happened to you, and I think it's common to many people, when do you think it started?
So my aha moment was I grew up in the Middle East. I'm Egyptian by origin, and then I had an opportunity to move to Cambridge University to do my PhD in computer science. And I got there and I realized that, oh my God, I was stuck with this device. That was in the year 2000, so it was even before we had cell phones or smartphones. But I realized I was spending so much time with this device that had no idea how I was feeling. But more importantly, it was my portal of communication to my family back home, right? And there were times when I'd be actually literally in tears, and all I could send was like a sad emoji, right? And it felt very cheap, and it felt like all my emotions were disappearing in cyberspace. And that was back when we didn't have smartphones. I think the problem now is it's a lot bigger. A lot of us communicate mostly via social media platforms. I also think it's, when I'm with you face to face, I'm not going to be really mean, right? I'm probably going to be a lot more polite than if I'm just texting you online. So I think it's resulting in a lot of polarization between people, and a lot of, we see it in our political discourse, at least in the United States. Like, people are just super mean online. And I think it's because we're missing all of the richness of our nonverbal communication. So one of our goals is to bring that back into our online platforms. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.